12 News, the change is coming to a school lunch tray near you this fall. Then, a local mother and daughter effort at the Minnesota State Fair.
We have done, some street fairs in San Francisco, but nothing compares to the Minnesota State Fair.
But first, a woman dies in an accident, and it takes hours to find out who she is. 12 News starts right now. A woman is killed walking along a Maple Grove road, but it took hours to identify her. Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us. I'm Mike Johnson.
And I'm Alexandra Renslow. Police say a van hit the woman about 1:30 in the morning. The accident happened on Weaver Lake Road, just east of Main Street. And as Renee Bonneau tells us, the victim was carrying no identification, and police were asking for help in identifying her.
Mike and Alexandra, it was a mystery for Maple Grove police until the medical examiner was able to positively identify the woman this afternoon, but that identity has not yet been released.
With females, there's a purse left, or males, there's a wallet. In this particular accident, we don't have any of those effects left at the scene of the accident.
Police say the woman was walking along a construction zone on Weaver Lake Road when she was hit by a van. Police say it did not appear she was in a crosswalk. The driver stopped and is cooperating. Drug and alcohol tests are pending, but police say it didn't appear either was a factor in the crash. Authorities are reconstructing the accident. So now, while police have determined who the victim is, it's still unclear how the accident happened. The case is still under investigation.
All right, Renee, thank you very much. Fridley police have announced funeral arrangements for an officer who was killed in an off-duty motorcycle accident this week. 38-year-old Barry Pankinen died Tuesday after a crash near his home in Plymouth. Plymouth police are investigating. Pankinen's funeral is scheduled for Saturday afternoon at Trinity Lutheran Church in Long Lake. Pankinen was a 12-year veteran of the Fridley police force. Police say he was riding the motorcycle alone and no other vehicles were involved in the crash.
The results of a recount are in from last week's primary election, and it appears that there will be a new Three Rivers Park Board commissioner representing Brooklyn Park, Champlin, Maple Grove, and Osseo. Incumbent Marilyn Corcoran came in third place. Just 21 votes separated her and Jennifer DeJournet. So county officials held a recount earlier this week. They tell us DeJournet gained 1 vote in that recount, and that puts her in the general election in November against Rick Thiessen.
If you're a student, forget about the greasy pizza and say goodbye to hot dogs and French fries.
Some big changes are coming to your child's school cafeteria, and it is all for the sake of better health.
Come on, kids.
In school cafeterias this fall, there's a new showing coming to the lunch line.
Good choice.
It's a premiere where fruits and vegetables play leading roles.
So we've got a half a cup of black bean corn salad. We've got a half a cup of fruit, half a cup of mixed vegetables, half a cup of fruit again.
New federal standards for healthier school meals go into effect this fall. Changes on the menu include larger servings of fruits and vegetables, more whole grains, less fat and sodium, and calorie limits. Smaller portions are key to the changes. Last year this burger was 3 ounces, now it's 2.
Last year they didn't have to have a fruit or a vegetable. They could take, let's say, a hamburger on a bun and a milk, and that would constitute a lunch. This year, they need to have a fruit or a vegetable on their tray.
In the Robbinsdale School District, lunch lady Linda Rancourt knows she has her work cut out.
As far as the vegetables, it's going to be a challenge.
A challenge convincing middle school students to load up on veggies.
We try to make it look nice, and then, we do try to tell them to at least try it. If you try it, if you eat it a few times, you probably get to like it.
On the high school turf, one student thinks it could just work. High school students, will they go for more fruits and vegetables?
If it's more available to them, I think that it'll be used more and they'll eat it more.
Just because the school hamburger meal is now partnered with greens doesn't mean that French fries have disappeared.
On another day, say next month we offer a hamburger, we may have fries as one of the vegetable choices. So it's not that we're taking it away totally, it's just not as often.
Fried fare might make a cameo appearance, but from now on, healthy is in the starring role. There is a little financial incentive to eating healthy. If students have at least 1 fruit or vegetable on their tray, it is priced as a meal. Without the fruit or vegetable, it's priced more expensively as a la carte.
The North Memorial Hospital hopes to make more healthy food choices available to its staff and neighbors who live around the hospital this fall. Starting in September, the hospital will conduct a small farmers market on a dead-end street just across the street from the hospital. A farmers market at Robbins Center was recently discontinued. North Memorial officials say it's part of their healthy eating initiative. The Robbinsdale City Council gave approval to open the market one afternoon a week through October. Eventually, North Memorial would also like to see their own community garden on the North Memorial campus.
A New Hope school designed to serve students with special needs celebrated its grand opening Thursday afternoon.
We were coming from an old elementary school building, and it functioned fine, but coming here, just the feeling of being in the building and working the whole day and going home is just noticeably different.
The North Education Center of Intermediate School District 287 will serve about 450 students from elementary up to the age of 21. The $35 million building was designed to serve students with a variety of challenges ranging from autism to health impairments to anxiety disorders. Teachers say their new surroundings will create a better learning environment.
We're going to have the space, this incredible space to really develop and learn, and it's going to be a whole new environment for us and the students, and can't wait to see how it affects and how much change it's going to bring having a special space for them.
The school even has a daycare for students who have children, and there's classroom space to teach students life skills such as cooking. Coming up, we head out to the Minnesota State Fair where we will meet some Northwest Metro residents who finally got their foot in the door.
And later in sports, Totino Grace's football team gears up to face new opponents in the Northwest Suburban Conference.
But first, it's a check of your AccuWeather forecast. For one local family, the road to the State Fair actually started on vacation in Boston.
The family tasted a sweet treat and knew it could become a State Fair classic. 10 years later, they now have their chance. Shannon Slatton explains how the mother-daughter team created one of the newest food booths at the fair.
Hey, you gotta try this. Nestled between the Buffalo Burgers and the Kettle Corn in Heritage Square,
One coffee?
you'll find a new immigrant.
I'd like a plain cannoli with chocolate chips and a Swedish coffee, please.
The cream's right around the corner.
A new food combination that celebrates Italian and Swedish heritage.
We really are excited for people to come try the cannoli.
It's something new. I've never had it before.
Oh, it's really good. Tasty. Really good.
And was it worth it? Definitely.
Awesome.
It's Oli's Cannoli, brought to you by a family with roots in Brooklyn Park.
We have done street fairs in San Francisco, but nothing compares to the Minnesota State Fair. You can hold this. Coffee.
Marta Lindsay and her mom, Pam Olson, first tasted the Italian treat 10 years ago on vacation in Boston.
We both ate a bite and we were like, this, first of all, is an amazing dessert. How have we never had this? And then this would be so perfect for the Minnesota State Fair.
They spent the rest of their vacation figuring out a way to bring the dessert here.
Mom do topping.
The secret is to fill each cannoli shell fresh to order.
It's all about freshly filling them right before you eat them.
So it keeps the right creamy, crunchy texture.
It's nice and crunchy.
Well, the filling is like a pudding cream puff, like what my mom makes.
Sweet, flaky, really good.
We have been busy pretty much since we opened.
Once people actually know what cannoli is.
Some people have said it's pasta, and I'm like, no, this is this amazing dessert.
This mother-daughter team hopes when Minnesotans think cannoli, they think of Oli.
I hope so. I hope we become a tradition, and I think because cannoli are hard to find, I hope that we're that place every year. People say, I gotta go to the fair, I gotta get my cannoli.
At the State Fair, Shannon Slatton, 12 News.
Well, the booth is located right inside Heritage Square at the State Fair, and you can get plain cannoli or chocolate cannoli. You can have it with sprinkles. There's pistachios, chocolate chips, and all kinds of different sprinkles on it. I've never had it, so I wouldn't know which kind to order, maybe 2 or 3.
And the challenge is probably just having one. I was just going to say, sticking to one.
Well, coming up, it may be a lost art, but we'll meet a man who still makes sure sewing machines are humming smoothly.
But first, in sports, Terry Tuma drops by for his weekly fishing tip. Jay Wilcox says that and more when we come back.
Jay Wilcox joins us now with sports, and nothing like the new season coming up and raising the bar a little bit to make it more challenging.
Yeah, Totino Grace's football program has been so good, and now they're going to get some tougher challenges, it looks like. In 2011, the Totino Grace football team moved up to Class 5A and made a nice run in the postseason. This fall, the Eagles are taking on a new challenge. Here's Jason Malillo with our training camp report.
Totino Grace will test its mettle this season in a new conference.
We're going to have to be playing full games, and we're going to have to be always keeping that next level, having to keep that energy up through all 4 quarters.
The Eagles moved to the Northwest Suburban Conference for the first of 2 seasons. They'll face bigger schools and better competition.
It's going to be a lot more fun. I mean, playing full games. I mean, to the other teams, we would be out by halftime, the starters. And, I mean, it's a fun game, but, I mean, full games are really fun, playing it to the very end. And then that'll help us through the postseason because we've been experienced through the tougher games and playing full games.
TG is one of the most successful programs in the state, but the Eagles try to never look back. Their focus is always forward.
You know, all sports are great, but, you know, there's a lot of sports that, you know, with traveling or AAU, you might play 150 games a year. Football, you get 8. You get 1 a week. You get 8 opportunities, and so and hopefully you advance, and then each opportunity becomes special. I honestly don't think that you need anything looking back at last year, you shouldn't, to motivate you for one of those 8 opportunities.
A rare exception to that always forward mantra might be last season's state tournament. In its first season in Class 5A, Grace battled its way to the state semifinal, but gave a somewhat listless effort and lost big to Eden Prairie.
Felt like in that last game we played a team that was hungrier than us, and yeah, I think they were more talented than us. But you know, what we can control is I felt like they went in, that team, and credit Eden Prairie for that. That team outcompeted us, and so that's a nice learning thing.
There's a little extra tenacity to getting at it and working hard because we saw that playing with those guys. I mean, we got to work 10 times harder than we already are, and we just got to keep pushing ourselves every day.
Totino Grace will definitely be challenged in the Northwest Suburban Conference, but this program prides itself on overachieving, and that's what the Eagles will aim to do again this fall. Jason Malillo, 12 Sports.
Here's the rundown on the Eagles. They were 11-2 last fall, and check out the record Jeff Ferguson's compiled, winning 90% of his games. 12 starters are back this year. Grace starts the season at Coon Rapids next Thursday. And here is a look at the new divisions for the Northwest Suburban. Keep in mind, this is for football only. Though they're given geographical names, the schools were divided by enrollment. The larger schools in the North Division are Champlin Park, Maple Grove, Anoka, Blaine, Coon Rapids, and Centennial. The West Division includes Armstrong, Osseo, Park Center, Totino Grace, Andover, and Elk River, which returns to the conference for football after 2 seasons in the Mississippi 8. The re-entry of Elk River led to the addition of Grace to balance it out with 12 teams total and 2 6-team divisions. There will be separate champions crowned. It is set to be a 2-year trial, but since the North Suburban is losing 3 teams next season, Totino Grace may be forced to rejoin the North Suburban. Stay tuned on that one. If you go out fishing, don't be too impatient after a cast that nets nothing. Pro angler Terry Tuma says, be patient. Here's this week's Channel 12 fishing tip.
You know what, a question that's commonly asked is, do you cast more than once to a specific location? If it's bass or walleyes or whatever species it may be, especially with crankbaits or wacky worms for bass or whatever. And the answer to that is always yes. If I have a gut feel that there's fish in that specific spot, I definitely will cast many, many times to that location. Changing the retrieves, maybe changing the angle of the boat, changing your casting position, coming at an angle. And then if you miss a fish or you feel there are fish there, this is the time that you're going to want to change crankbaits. It's going to be maybe downsizing your crankbait, different type of a retrieve again, then switching over to some sort of plastic, maybe wacky worms or whatever it may be. Now we're talking bass fishing. But again, if you're trying to set a pattern, and if you can set this pattern, you're going to be much more successful. But do constantly, don't just target an area, move on. Target an area, move on. Work that area. If you just make one cast, you shouldn't have picked that spot in the first place. Be sure to tune in next week for another tip and release some of those fish. Keep just enough fish for the frying pan.
Thanks, Terry's got some great advice
Yeah,
as
he
always.
does. In an entertaining fashion.
Yes.
Thanks a lot, Jay. Still ahead, they call him the sewing machine doctor.
It may be a dying art, but you could say his patients are on the mend. We'll be right back. Here's a look ahead to some of what we're following on Friday's 12 News. Hundreds of people will walk for someone suffering from cancer. It's the Susan G. Komen 3-day walk. We'll have an update on one Maple Grove woman who is in the fight. Plus, something else you need in the garden, bees. We'll hear from an expert. And in sports, we'll have a preview of the Hopkins football team as they prepare for Saturday's season opener. All those stories and more Friday, beginning at 4 o'clock. And finally, a Golden Valley doctor who doesn't exactly make house calls.
But as Renee Bonneau reports, you can find him healing patients at a local fabric store.
Willie Moss never went to med school,
There we go.
but he's been running his practice for decades.
Well, I go by Dr. Willie. I'm a sewing machine doctor.
Dr. Willie's Sewing Machine Sales and Service is open for business every Thursday at Mill End Textiles in Crystal.
See what kind of surprise I have in this box here.
He won't string you along. He'll give you a basic tune-up or patch up busted parts in a matter of hours.
I do them right here in the store, and they get them back the same day, unless if parts are needed or extra major work.
Dr. Willie's been working out of Mill End Textiles for 16 years, but he's been repairing sewing machines for much longer than that.
I started when I was 17 years old. I went to work for Viking Sewing Machine Company in 1975, and I kind of been in the business ever since.
Through the years, he's taught himself how to fix newer electronic machines he says aren't built as well as older ones.
I can pick up on it pretty easily. So this machine is done.
He says the rising cost of fabric has caused his business to drop in the last decade, but he still keeps a steady stream of customers.
It always felt like after I got home, like I had a brand new machine again. I mean, they work so good. And I have a neighbor that comes quite a bit, and she just, even her husband says, he does a really good job.
Dr. Willie's expertise doesn't stop at sewing machines. He'll sharpen your knives for less than $5 a pop.
Yeah, no, he's very good.
Here I have 29 pairs of scissors.
And of course,
I stay real busy here.
keep your sewing scissors nice and sharp too.
It fits in with the fabric store. People that sew need to cut their fabric.
His hours are 9 to 2, but like any doctor, he tries to fit in all his patients.
I stay until I get everything done.
In Crystal, Renee Bonneau, 12 News.
It is sometimes hard to find the guys that know all about those kind of machines.
You want a Dr. Willie around the corner,
exactly.
right?
I think we need him. My wife's sewing machine has never worked.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta
So
tell
there
her
we
about
go.
him.
That's right.
That's it for us. Thanks so much for joining us.
Stay with us. Community Corner is coming up next, and we'll see you back here again tomorrow beginning at 4.